welcome to our next edition of Facebook Live. Starting the new year off. We're now in January, and you know, everybody thinks that when you first start school there's really not a lot going on. Well, that is a falsehood, because we have somebody here who can attest to just the opposite, that actually in how many weeks? 4 weeks we open our next show already. The show is under the title of Fables, Folklore, and Fantasy, and what we have is a rock and roll extravaganza. A rock and roll extravaganza, and we're talking dance.
We are talking dance.
So what is this rock and roll extravaganza?
It is an evening full of energy, life, lot of dancing. The students that are in the show are absolutely fantastic. It's sit on the edge of your seat kind of an experience.
And is it because of this rock and roll quality that just gets things driving and pushing? Is that the idea? Is it the music specifically, or?
Yeah, it's a mixture of things. It's music, it's lights, it's set, it's costumes. You know, when this idea was proposed to me last year of doing a concept album, I thought, how cool would that be to have a full evening length work based off of one genre, one artist, and one album. And you know, it's quite the experience. Working with Chantel has been fantastic. She's got this really beautiful vision for what we're going to be doing in the space. Daryl's coming up with some really fantastic costumes. And like I said, the dancers are just taking the numbers and shooting to the stars with them.
And mainly the music is like early 1980s, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it is from Styx. I know that.
Yeah.
And what attracts you to the early 1980s music?
Well, there's just something about it that I think there was this, you know, there's this time period of music where there's a shift in sound, and there's a shift in looking at maybe even society, and taking that and creating songs and lyrics that really apply to the everyday person. And I think that's really, it's quite relatable.
See, now you're using also, as I understand it, multimedia.
Yes.
And with this multimedia idea, is this kind of like what they do with music videos, where they're doing interpretation of lyric of a song and putting your own interpretation on it, your own social impact, taste to the piece? How are you dealing with that part of the process?
Yeah, that's actually it's a really fun component. One thing that I'm doing for example, for a men's duet is we're kind of exploring perspective, right? And so videotaping close up on their face, and then intertwining that with snow falling and blizzard kind of conditions. So playing with perspective, making kind of some fun other perspectives of shooting from above, and then projecting that onto the site in the background. So the audience gets to see the dancers live in this space, and then they get to see what's above them, behind them, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. On video?
On video.
Or what do you call it now? Do you call it video, even though it's not video?
Yeah, video, yeah.
It's still video, even though it's not video.
Yeah, projection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is actually something, for you folks out there, this is something really new and different that we're doing here at Casper College at the Department of Dance, really. It's a kind of a new concept in how to approach dance concerts.
Yeah.
And also, as I understand it, this is something that really is done a lot nationally within dance concerts, right?
Yes. So it's called screen dance, and it's a way to texturize space, and it's a way to give the dancers an environment from which they're dancing in, and it creates really it creates fascinating line with the dancers, and it changes the environment, the stage environment, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you were looking at this and really coming up with the idea and having an idea and having it morph into this personal statement, what do you want the audience to leave with? What is the dramatic question, for lack of a better term, that you'd like them to be able to have that question in the performance and then say, oh, you know, and it makes are you wanting them to reflect on their own lives afterward? I mean, all of that. How are you dealing with that?
You know, that's something that the dancers and I have talked a lot about, is how can we tell a story? And how is that story then being perceived? And within the realm of modern dance and jazz dance in particular, it's not like a story ballet, right? Where maybe Cinderella or Swan Lake, you know that story, you can follow that story. Our objective for the show is for there to be a discussion afterwards. And one person might interpret a section quite differently than another person, and that's fine. That's actually great, because then that opens up dialogue. Then that opens up, oh, I didn't even think about that. And then there's sharing, and it's about sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this happens to be true a lot in my own writing, is that you have a certain voice. You know where you're wanting to go. But then audience members might take that and say, geez, did you realize, you know, that, or I love the way that you used metaphor for yada, yada, yada. And you're going, oh, I didn't even know that was in there. And people, you know, pick that out.
Yeah.
But you know that it is a part of that ingrained emotion, that ingrained drive of what you actually are wanting to say.
Yeah. And that's something, you know, that I love after the show, going in, you know, to the lobby and talking with our patrons that have come and supported us and hearing what they have to say and what they're thinking about the show. And there's actually a really cool element on our opening night. We're going to do a talk back. So the dancers are going to be on stage, the audience will be there, and there's going to be a little rapport back and forth. And I'm really excited about that. And if it's well received, perhaps we do that after, you know, a couple other shows. I think it's good for the dancers to hear what their performance has brought to others,
Mm-hmm.
and for them to hear that authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing I realized is I didn't even introduce who I'm talking with or who I am. I suppose we should do this.
Perhaps.
I mean, you know, we're talking about this rock and roll show, and who is this guy that's talking about this? This is Aaron Wood, our new faculty member here at Casper College in the dance department.
Yeah.
Started just this year,
Yeah,
right?
just started this year.
And where did you come from?
Yes.
I mean, what did you do right before this, and then also any history background that you want to share with the audience here?
For sure. So, you know, long story short, I was born and raised in Casper, Wyoming, and I didn't start dancing until I was 18 years old. And my first dance class was here at the college. I'm an alum of our dance program. From Casper College, I then went to the University of Wyoming, where I received my BFA in dance. I lived in New York for a year, decided, you know, I like the West, I like open space.
New York is a little different from the West.
It's just a little bit, yeah, a little bit. And then from there I went to Salt Lake City, where I received my MFA from the University of Utah, but I danced with Repertory Dance Theater for 7 years. And since I retired, I have taught at the University of Wyoming again. I went down to Idaho State University, and now I'm back home here at Casper College.
So now that you've kind of made the full circle,
Yeah.
where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to explore now in this? Basically, you can kind of look at this as now a second journey.
Yeah.
And what things really interest you that you want to kind of explore within your own artistry?
Yeah. You know, I think as artists, we never stop growing.
Yeah.
And in particular with me, I love screen dance. I love that component of projection and the video aspect and what that brings to theater. I will always train in modern and jazz ballet technique the summer, I'm arranging to go out to New York and take some master classes out there. I'm arranging to go to Salt Lake and take some master classes there. So, you know, the summer's going to be kind of a jump around, hop around, just experience different master classes and workshops. And that way I can bring them back and offer that to our students.
Yeah.
You know, that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one is the rock and roll fantasy based on early 1980s music. There's a lot of sticks in there, for example. And this is the director, Aaron Wood. And we have, how many students who are involved in this production?
Dancers, we have 19 dancers.
Wow.
Yes.
Big ensemble.
Big ensemble, and then we have, of course, our crew, which is, we have Katie Mooney, who's a wonderful stage manager. She's just fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we've got a handful.
And the dance studio only holds about 100, 110 people in each performance. So this is going to be a show that I wouldn't necessarily assume that you can just automatically get in if you show up 5 minutes beforehand. We would hate to disappoint you. So to protect ourselves and you from that, check online and you can start reserving tickets for this show. We open, what date?
February the 22nd.
February 22nd, and it goes for about 8 days. And 8 performances anyway, and we hope that you will attend. This is going to be a good one. And as I said, totally different.
Yes.
Projection, multimedia, dance extravaganza. So hope to see you there. This next week we'll be doing Facebook Live with another faculty member who is actively involved in this production, so you can learn a little bit of the behind-the-scenes process of this too. Plus, we'll be also interviewing a couple of the actors, dancers who are instrumental to this. So all of that is coming up in the next Facebook Lives every Friday, right around 1 o'clock. Hope to see you again this next week. Signing off from the Department of Theater and Dance here at Casper College, Aaron Wood, yay!